Ребят, вот наш очередной подкаст, и сегодня он супер необычный, потому что мы будем пытаться разговаривать на английском, потому что наш гость англоговорящий, и он приехал из Америки, и мы тут быстренько его...
Пригласили поучаствовать с нами в
Максим,
подкасте
молодец.
и взять от него опыт его служения, его жизни.
И хотели бы узнать о вас немножко. We want to know about you something. Do you have children, something like that? Where are you from? Where you was born? Can you tell?
Of course, definitely. Well, first of all, let me say thank you to each and every one of you guys for the opportunity to spend this time together and just enjoy our time together. So, a little bit about me. My name is Jose Antonio Barrientos Rodriguez, but everybody knows me as Josant. So, just think about it. Just remember that, Josant. And I was born in the United States, the state of Texas. But my parents, they used to be missionaries, so we moved and I grew up into Central America, El Salvador mainly. That's like a country in Central America. And I grew up there. Then when I was 18, we came back to the United States. I finished my theology degree. I studied my master's there. God blessed me with a wonderful wife. Her name is Claudia Barrientos. And about a year and 3 months ago, we were blessed with a baby, Emma. I love my daughter. I'm in love with her. So it's a wonderful thing. So that's a little bit about me.
Cool. И так как, у нас наш слоган дубль 2
So our main motto is double two,
начать жизнь по-новому,
and it says start a new life.
как вы понимаете эту фразу?
So how do you understand this phrase?
Что она
Start
для-
a new life.
Что она для вас значит?
What does it mean to you?
Okay, let me just start by answering the question. Start a new life is the desire that everybody has. Everybody wants to have a new opportunity, something new to experience. So to me, the motto that you guys have is second chances, second opportunities, a new life. Everybody's dreaming about something different, experiencing something that they haven't experienced before. And having a new life, to me, it's starting something new from zero. New dreams that you have always thought about that now you have the opportunity to make them a reality. Maybe you have messed up your life. You have done many bad things that you want to just start from zero again. And I think many of us have always dreamed about, oh man, I would like to start my life in another place. What if I was born in another country and I had a new experience or going through a different situation? And I think that's the desire that many people have. I don't know if it's everybody in the world, but at least young people today, everybody wants to have a second chance. Everybody wants to start something new in life. So the motto that you guys have is very nice because it's the desire to start something new, start a new life, have a new beginning, and it's what everybody's looking for.
Yeah. Начинали ли вы когда-нибудь что-нибудь с нуля?
Have you
Сначала.
ever tried to do something from the really beginning? Started something new?
Oh, it's not that if I ever tried it. Many times I've tried it to do new things. And yeah, definitely, I have many experiences. The first one, it's with being a missionary kid. My parents used to be, they continue to be pastors. So when we moved from United States, from America, we went to Hispanic countries. So their language was totally different. So I learned it and everything was good, okay. But when the time to come back to the United States, it was a very difficult one. Because when I came back to the United States, I was not able to speak English. I knew the basic English.
I have a question. At what age you go to the Spanish country?
I was about 1 year old.
Oh,
I was tiny. But when I come back to the United States, I was 18 years old. You know, that prime age when you're happy that you don't get sick, you have a strength for everything, you can do everything. Mom and dad is not even in the picture, they don't know anything, you know everything.
Yeah.
So I think I was having a good life. I had everything. But when I got back to the United States, I realized I didn't know English. So just the basic things like colors, black, red, green, white, yellow. and just basic things like, how are you? My name is, and one of the most important things, where is the bathroom? You know? So, so just the basic things. And I decided to start studying in another country, immersed in another language, and a language that I didn't know. So this is the experience that I always remember, because it was the beginning of a new life, starting a new life. It was my first day in class, and I was going towards to take breakfast because it was a university, and we were there, and I practiced my few English that I had, like good morning, how are you? My name is. So I went to the cafeteria. It was breakfast time before the classes. And like I said, I was practicing. I thought that I knew it, but I was starting a new life. I came in front to where they were serving the food, and I can promise you that this is what I remember and what I think the person told me. That's what I think the person told me. That the person said, "What's your name?" And me, all proud, thinking that I knew everything, that I was able to manage the language English, I said, "Oh, my name is Jose Barrientos." And I just remember the face of this lady looking at me like, what? And then she looked at me and she understood, this guy, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. So she went to do what we are really good at doing when we know the other person don't know the language. She was like, "What do you want to eat?" And then I realized, I'm in a new life. This is a new beginning. So I had to deal with it. So the beginning was really hard because it's a new beginning. And that's one of the things that you need to understand, that when you are studying something that you don't have experience about, it's going to be hard. But you need to be willing. You need to have that willpower, that you need to put some effort, that if you really want to start that new life, there is a price that you have to pay, because nothing is easy. And that is the problem that many times we have, that we want everything to be easy, but it's not. If you want something new in your life, something new that is going to last for a long time, it's going to cost a little bit. It's going to have a lot of effort. So I'll be honest with you. There were many days that I was devastated. I felt so bad. I wanted the earth to open and to swallow me and be like, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else, that I can talk, that I can be understood. But time goes, and look at me now. I'm talking to you guys in English, and I do everything in English. And I'm now starting a new journey. I'm starting my process of learning some Russian, spasiba, pajalsta, and things like that. So, dobre utra. You see, just every beginning is difficult, but everybody wants to have that second chance. And that's the second chance that I had, the opportunity that I had to start a new life in a new country, a new language, studying in a totally different ambience, a totally different environment, that it was hard at the beginning. But later on, you start to see the results. Later on, you start to see how things are changing. But once again, it's hard. All beginnings are hard.
Сейчас хочется задать такую не дискуссию, такой разговор. Дубль 2 наше служение молодежное называется.
So our young ministry called Double Two.
И многие люди не понимают, почему дубль 2. Ведь у христиан все должно получаться с первого раза.
And some people don't understand why it's double two, like two, because we are Christians and it's supposed to be like we everything do from the first attempt.
Да, и мы назвали наше молодежное служение дубль 2, потому что люди, которые приходят на наше служение, независимо от того, что с ними было, что они делали, кем они были, как себя вели.
And so those people who come to our services, whatever they made, wherever they are, whoever they are, okay.
Мы хотим показать, что Бог их любит, и что у них есть возможность начать жизнь по-новому.
We want to see them, to show them that God loves him, and he wants to be with them as well.
Именно у них есть их дубль 2.
So they exactly have their second chance, like double two.
Excellent.
И хочется у вас спросить, как происходит вот эта вот встреча с Богом и у человека жизнь... Хочется спросить у вас, как это происходит, встреча с Богом и начало жизни по-новому?
So the question is, how it happened, the meeting with God and the new life? How it happened?
Every person had a different experience because God is so wonderful that He's not going to be working in the same way that He's working in my life. He's not going to be working the same way in you and you and you. It's everybody else is different. One of the things that I have come to understand is when you allow God to work in your life, because that's the thing, you have to let God work in you. It's not your way, it's God's way. It's when you just leave everything and be like, you know what, God, I just can't deal with it. Just take control of my life. Then we start to see the changes happening. But when we want to control everything, it's when we are not allowing God to work. Once again, I come back to the point of me starting a new life in a new country, in a new language. Imagine if I was going to be like, no, I don't want to change. This is the language that I speak, and everybody else have to change to learn the language that I speak in order for them to understand. It's not how it was. I had to let my guard down. I had to break all the walls that I built in order for me to start to learn. The same with God. Everything starts when you let yourself down and you start to let God come into your life. And then the experiences start to change. The mindset that you have start to change. There are going to be problems that are coming to you that before you see them differently, but now you're seeing them with a different light. Oh, so this is how God wants me to do things. This is how God wants me to treat people. This is how God wants me to utilize the talents that I have. It's not what I want. It's what He wants because He understands who you are. Let's be honest. How many of us understand who we are? How many of us understand what we want? If one day we want, let's say today you want to drink Coca-Cola and tomorrow you want to drink Sprite or any other drink, we don't even understand ourselves. But God does. And when we let our guards down, it's when we start to see the changes. That's what happened in my life. The first 3 months were the hottest one in the university. Because I thought, I can't understand. I can't. I was going through the classrooms. I was sitting down at the classrooms, looking at my professors, and they were just making noises, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't understand anything. And the only thing that I was able to do is just look at them and be, because I wasn't able to understand until I let my guard down. And then people starts to work with you. Because there was one night that I was in a class that I couldn't understand. I was feeling bad. The class finished, and then two guys came to me and said, like, you're new, and you don't understand what's going on. And I was like, yeah, I don't. And they were speaking in the language that I was able to speak. So they told me, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We want to help you. Every night that we have this class, we're going to stay at the end, and we're going to teach you everything in your language. But try to do all the homeworks in the language in English. And that's what I did. Everything started with me accepting my condition. I cannot do it. I don't know how to do it. I need somebody else to let me or help me. And they were the ones that came. They started to help me. So second chances, letting people take care of you, it's when everything starts to happen. When you let God come to you and He starts to teach you, just like what happened in my case. Thanks to these two guys, Otis and Alex, I will always remember them because they were the ones that spent time with me, that they walk with me, that they teach me what I was not able to understand. So this is a key thing. Many times we need help of somebody else. And just what you were saying about the meetings that you have with the young people, for a young person to experience the things that you guys are doing, they need to come. They need to let themselves be able to be there. They need to make that decision. You know what? I don't know what they're doing, but let me experience it. As soon as they come and experience what you guys are doing, they understand that they are not alone. Many people are going through the same journey, and it's when things start to change. You start to find people that wants to help you, that wants to support you, that want to walk with you. It's a journey. Nobody hates perfect, but we are all in the process to be better, to experience that second chances, to experience those new beginnings.
Мне хочется понять больше, как вот эти люди, которые приходят на встречу, и они только начинают знакомиться с Богом, как Бог влияет на их жизнь, как им реагировать на Бога за счет... Вот мы им сказали, что Бог их любит, несмотря ни на что, что с ними было. Как им это принять, как это осознать и что с этим вот делать дальше?
So we want to ask you the spiritual moment, maybe in our service, if we can say that. So, for example, there is some person who came to this meeting. He doesn't know God. He don't believe in God, but somehow he realized that God loves him, and he want to be with him. So, what's next thing that this person have to do? How to accept this love? How to react? How to act? What is the next step would be?
Да.
Yeah, there was a question.
So the question is, what is the next step when a person
Yeah,
understands
the
that God
God's
loves
love.
them?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. And let me use my example again. When you understand that somebody loves you, that somebody is desperate to be with you, that is willing to do anything for you, the only thing that you need to do is let him do it. In other words, for a person that comes to the meetings that you have and understand that God loves them, they're already doing the first step. They're coming to meet with other people that have come to understand that God loves them. So the next step is to find people that can support you through the journey. People that can understand, hey, you're just learning. You're new in this. You don't know everything about God. You want to learn about God. You want to learn how to express your love to Him. So the best thing is find a partner, find a helper, find a friend that can teach you about how to study the Bible, how to study about God, how to do worship, and what does it mean to come together, to talk to God, and then practice serving others. Because that's the key thing that God did. That when we have that love for God, that we have come to understand that God loves us, the best thing that we can do is express it to other people, express what we have felt and what we have come to understand, tell others about it. And that's the best thing that we can do. Because when you fall in love with someone, just think about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, when you are in love with that person, what is it the thing that you want to do? You want everybody to know that you're in love. You want everybody to know that that person tell you, yes, I want to be your boyfriend. I want to be your girlfriend, even though you might be looking like me, a little ugly. So it doesn't matter because you are so happy that you have come to understand that somebody loves you just as you are. No matter how many imperfections you have, when you have that, when you have come to understand that somebody loves you just as you are, you want everybody to know. You want everybody to be part of that happiness that you have. So when somebody understands that God loves them, I encourage them, just go and tell others. Because as you are in love with God, there's other people that are desperate to find out that God loves them. And the best way for us to tell others about how God is in love with us is telling our experience, how we have come to understand that God is so much, He is madly in love with us, that He is willing to do anything that He can to the point to give His life for you and for me. So just go and tell others. Tell your experience, but don't do it alone. Look for people that want to do it together, that are understanding you, and it's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Андрей, давай.
У меня есть еще один вопрос.
And the other question is
По поводу второго шанса.
about second chance.
Если бы у вас была возможность
If you would have the opportunity
попросить у Бога
to ask God
дать вам второй шанс в какой-то момент из вашей прошлой жизни,
give you a chance, the second chance in your past life,
есть ли он и в какой момент, в какой ситуации вы бы хотели второй шанс?
what it would be? What would be the second chance in which area?
Man, that's a good question. That's a good question. I think that if I had the opportunity, and it's not that if I had the opportunity, because God gives you opportunities. The question will be just why did I wait so long to give my life to you? Why? Just give me the chance and I do it way before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that moment because many times we commit many mistakes. many mistakes. Either we're cheating in class, we're cheating with our friends, we're lying, we're doing so many different things. So in my case, I will be like, you know what, God, if you can give me another chance, I would like to be more faithful to you. I would like for you to give me another chance to improve my relationship with you, to be closer to you, not to look for you when I need you. Because that's another problem. We always look God as a friend with benefits, that only when we need something, we look for him. So I will do that. But this is the beautiful thing about God, that he is not waiting for you to ask that question. He's always giving you the second chance because he loves you so much. He's so desperate for you that he is like, only think about it, and I can give you the chance. So with the question that you're asking me, what will it be, my question to God? He's giving me a second chance, so it's up to me to make it better. It's up to me to fulfill what I would like to ask. I want to be more close to God. Then I still have the chance. I am still alive. I'm not dead. So that means that I still can do it. So it's for me to take the advantage of it and then make it a reality. Because this is the beautiful thing about God, and that's why I love the motto that you guys have, is starting a new life. God is allowing you to do it, because if you are alive, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're paying attention to what we're talking about, it's because you are alive. That means you have a second chance. You can start a new life, but the only person that can start that is you. God is not going to force you to do it. The only person that can do it is you. So if you're listening to this, if you want to have a better relationship with God, if you want to change your life, if you want to have a new life, start now. Don't wait. Don't wait for friends. Don't wait for people to do it or to tell you. No, start now. You are the one that needs to make the decision. So my answer to your question is, I wanna have a better relationship with God. I want to be closer to God. So if I'm still alive, I still can do it. So he is already giving me the chance.
Yeah.
So he's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Бог дает человеку при рождении шанс, да, и кто-то его не использует, а кто-то это осознает, да, вот начинает жить по-новому. И у той, и у этой ситуации должен быть какой-то результат. Вот когда ты начинаешь жить по-новому, какой твой результат? Когда ты начинаешь жить с Богом, какой твой результат?
So when you're born, it seems like a new chance, a new life for you. And God gives you this life. And for some people, it's already started in like when he was born. But for the other people, it seems that God have to give them a new chance again and again and again. So the question is, what is the result of this decision, of making this decision to accept this new life, a new chance?
Great question. And I hope I understand it well. Everything starts with one thing, forgiving yourself. If you don't forgive yourself, you will continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. For example, if you don't like people, there is some friends that you have, but there is one person in specific that you don't like, because you don't like it, you're not going to continue to go and talk to them. The first thing that you do is, I'm not going to get in, I don't want to be close to them. So you stop talking to them. You erase them from your social media. You erase them from the Instagram, from Facebook. You just stop. The problem is that when we want to change, we don't forgive ourselves the things that we have done. But when you forgive yourself is when you have made the decision, I don't want to continue to do it. And that's why many people keep having second chances. And can you please forgive me? Like if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and you did something bad to them and you're like, please forgive me. And she's like, okay, I'll forgive you. But it's like they continue to do it because they haven't forgiven themselves. Because when you really experience forgiveness, the change that you experience is you have to be different. It's not that you're going to continue doing the same things. So people have that problem. And more our generation, the younger generation, we don't like to change.
Yeah.
We don't like to be different because we want to be part of the group and we want to be part of the society. But sadly, this society is just being comfortable with not being different. We want to be like everybody else. But if you see the ones that are different, the ones that have that the willpower to change things in their lives, are the ones that succeed because they want to experience something different and start something new. They stop spending time with people that are not helping them. They stop talking, having conversations that are not giving them something good. So everything starts when you forgive yourself. And when you forgive yourself, honestly forgive yourself, is when you start to look at the things that you have to change and you start changing. For example, if you want to have a really good body and muscles and everything, you know that you need to change the way that you eat. Stop eating hamburgers, stop eating all the junk food, and you have to exercise. But many people, they believe in, drink this juice and eat this food and everything's going to be okay. That's not true. That's not true. If you want to change in your life, there are things that you have to cut. There are things that you have to stop doing. And then is when the new life starts. Then is when things start to change. And even you have to be patient. Because if you go to the gym and you're exercising, lifting weights and everything, many people, the first day that they go and do exercise, they go to the mirror and they start to look if they have some muscles or something. Nothing happens. You need to wait 1, 2, 3 months in order to start to see some change. So you need to have that patience. If you want a new life, be patient. God is going to work in you, but it's going to take time. Why? Not because he doesn't want it to give it to you fast. It's because when things come too fast in life, you don't value them. You don't appreciate them. You take them for granted. So you love them for one day and then you drop it. Yeah. But when things take time, then you start to value them. When you start to see your muscle changing, your bodies, for the ladies to start to be like more looking good and everything, they stop eating the same things that they used to eat. They stop talking about the same things. And even we know the things that we don't have to do in order to we go run. We do so many things in order to keep the shape. It's the same thing with God. If you want to have that wonderful life that God wants you to have, you need to keep yourself good. You need to be patient. There are things that you have to cut. You have to stop in your life in order for the changes to happen. Because if you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, if you continue to ask him for another chance, another opportunity, it's because in reality, you don't want it. Yeah. Because if you really want something, you are going to do something. If you want the new iPhone, I don't know how much it costs here, but in the United States, in America, it's like about $1,000. Yeah. You have to save money for it. So you need to be patient. Every month you're saving $100. So in order to save $1,000, you need to save for 10 months if you want that phone. It's the same thing with having a second chance. If you really want to have a second chance, you have to be patient. And every day you have to do something new, so the result come at the end. And when you purchase that phone, you're crazy. Oh man, the phone, look at that, the new phone. You're enjoying it. The same thing with God. If you can get that phone the same day that it came out, you're not going to value it. But if it takes a long time for you to get it, when you get it, that's your baby. You take care of it, you protect it, you purchase the best cover, the best protection thing that you can have. It's the same thing for the second chances. You value the things that are hard to get. You value the things that it takes some time to receive. And the things that you value is the one that you take care of. Second chances is that. Even though God give you many more, it's because he is in love with you, but he's waiting for the moment that you are really going to make that change in your life and experience the new life, that second chance that he wants you to have.
Ребята, спасибо вам, что вы нас слушали. В первую очередь хочется поблагодарить Джосонта за то, что вы согласились поучаствовать в нашем подкасте, за то, что вы делились с нами искренне своими опытами, размышлениями по теме, которую мы сегодня задали. Аня, спасибо тебе за то, что ты согласилась переводить. И, Андрей, спасибо тебе за то, что ты ведешь данный подкаст. И, Максим, спасибо тебе за то, что ты его завершил, хотя не хотел.
Отлично. Не забывайте ставить лайки, подписываться на наш канал и оставлять комментарии. И в конце, Jocelyn, you yesterday give to all of the people these things. Yeah, we want to give to you this
Old,
Appreciate
old,
it.
very old.
Thank you.
It's that old.
It's all right. I'll wear it proudly.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Maxime. God bless you, everybody. And always remember, second chances are open for anyone. God loves you.
God bless you. Вас тоже, короче.
You too.
И Америке привет передавайте. Спасибо за то, что вы нас вдохновляете. Ну, это не надо переводить, да? Ну ладно.
Yeah, that's it.
Маша, спасибо.